Self-care is a term that was supposed to mean something important, something grounding. It was supposed to be about mental health, about taking care of your mind and your body in a world that doesn't stop moving. And yet it's become something entirely different. It's a buzzword, a brand, a way to sell you things that you didn't even know that you needed. Of course I'm going to buy it. It's self-care and I'm worth it. Let's talk about what self-care was meant to be and how industries have hijacked it to create more work, because of course they did. A lot of what we're seeing today about self-care, especially on social media, isn't even about care, it's about consumption. It's influencers trying to sell you more, whether it's an $80 bath towel warmer or a dozen skincare products that you don't need. They teach us that the only way to truly take care of yourself is to buy more, more, more. But trust me, self-care shouldn't drive you deeper into your credit card debt. Let's clear something up. True self-care doesn't have to cost a single penny. Not a penny. In fact, it often looks nothing like what social media or the wellness industry tells you. Self-care is meant to be something that nourishes you, not something that drains your time, energy, or your wallet. Originally, self-care wasn't about indulgence or treat yourself. It was about survival, mental, emotional, and sometimes even physical survival. It's a term rooted in mental health practices, especially for people who are struggling with trauma, chronic stress, or mental illness. Self-care was something psychologists recommended to people who needed to protect themselves from burning out or from breaking down. It was never meant to be commodified or sold as a product. But then the beauty and wellness industry swooped in, and of course, they couldn't resist turning self-care into a full-blown commodity. They didn't just latch onto it, they hijacked it, repackaged it, and sold it back to us like it was some kind of essential luxury. While some people love their bath bombs and yoga retreats, real self-care doesn't require a price tag or a perfectly curated social media post. I mean, God forbid you just rest for a day without a sheet mask on your face and 3 motivational podcasts lined up. Let's clarify. Relaxing and self-care aren't always the same thing. Sure, a nice bath or a day of pampering can really be relaxing, but real self-care isn't about indulging in products that someone is pushing online. It's about genuinely meeting your needs, whether that's setting boundaries, moving your body, or just unplugging from social media for a while. If your self-care is stressing you out, you're doing it wrong. So here's where I have to call myself out too, because I've been there. I have fallen into the trap of thinking that if I don't check off some wellness routine, I was failing. But self-care is not a productivity hack. It's not a competition. You don't need to win at self-care. And you're not failing if you didn't journal or drink your green juice this morning. Self-care should help you reset, recharge, and protect your mental well-being. It could mean saying no when you're stretched too thin. It could mean taking a nap, walking outside, or doing absolutely nothing without feeling guilty about it. There's this narrative that self-care gives you permission to escape responsibilities and call it wellness. But if all you're doing is avoiding the hard stuff and you're never facing anything difficult, then that's not self-care. That's avoidance. True self-care is about finding that balance between rest and resilience. It's about intentional actions that support your well-being so that you can continue facing challenges with strength. But nowadays, you've got people staying in bed for days, binge watching Netflix, and calling that self-care. Sometimes that's just procrastination with a fancy label that you've slapped on it. So, now it's important to remember that for people dealing with mental health struggles like depression, self-care might look different. Sometimes staying in bed and watching Netflix is exactly what they need to cope, and that's okay. But the key is knowing when that's helping and when it's holding you back from moving forward. When self-care becomes a justification for disengagement, it's no longer serving its purpose. Real self-care isn't about escaping your responsibilities or life altogether. It's about taking intentional actions to support your well-being so that you can continue facing challenges with resilience. The media and wellness industries have convinced us that we're not doing it right unless we're spending money on it. But it's a form of guilt marketing. If you're not buying their products or engaging in their services, well, then you're failing at self-care. It's predatory, and it capitalizes on our insecurities, making people feel like they need these products just to be okay. That just adds more stress, which is the opposite of what self-care is supposed to achieve. Self-care doesn't need to be expensive. It needs to be effective. Real self-care could be as simple as doing things you probably already do, like showering, making a good meal, or even changing your bedclothes. It sounds mundane, but once you start viewing these everyday tasks as a way to take care of yourself, they stop feeling like chores and they start feeling like little wins. And you know what? That's awesome. That's awesome. Sometimes real self-care is being grateful for the roof over your head and the hot meal that you just ate. Experts agree that self-care is about creating a life where you don't feel the constant need to check out or escape. It's not about indulgence or luxury. It's about doing what you need to do to stay grounded. True self-care might look like making difficult choices, setting boundaries, taking responsibility for your well-being. It's meant to help you recharge so that you can re-engage with life, not opt out from it altogether. Look, I get it. Everyone is allowed to do their own thing. It is not my business how you practice self-care. But when people start feeling like they're failing at something that's supposed to help them, then yes, I get concerned. You don't fail at self-care because you didn't meditate today or you didn't do yoga at sunrise, right? Real self-care is giving yourself permission to stop holding yourself to these arbitrary standards and do what makes you feel better. It's about reconnecting with yourself, not adding to your bills. It's not about avoiding responsibilities. It's about recentering. Self-care should be about building yourself up so that you can face life with more strength and more clarity. It's about small, meaningful actions that recharge you so that you can keep going. It's about doing what you need to feel whole, not what the wellness industry says that you need. So let's stop treating self-care like it's a job or an excuse to ignore everything else in our lives, right? You don't need a $50 candle or a subscription to a mindfulness app. You just need to check in with yourself and take care of your mind and body in a way that actually works for you. So, thanks for hanging out with me today. Now, go take care of yourself in whatever way that actually helps. No candles are required here. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.